welcome back to another episode of I Quit My Band. My name is Nate.
I'm JJ.
I'm Evan.
And we thank you for watching the show. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Comment down below. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And subscribe to our Patreon page. $5 a month. You get bonus content. We just put out a new episode called Playing Dress Up. We talk about Ghost. We talk about The Hives. We talk about Tom McDonald. We talk about a lot of dumb tracks, a lot of good tracks too. So go check it out. Plus more content if you become a quitter. $5
What the fuck was that band, like that German band or whatever that you featured on there? That was so sick.
This time around?
Yeah.
Oh, Honing Barna or something like that.
I fucking love Honing Barna, dude.
So sick. The
Yeah.
Honey Children in Norwegian.
After we did that, I listened to that album. I was like, oh, this is what I need in my life. And I
See-
can't understand anything they're saying.
That's why you got to subscribe to the page and you find out about great bands like Honing Barna.
Yeah.
Which we think we're saying correctly.
Yeah, we probably aren't saying that correctly.
But on the page, that's where you get the good shit.
That's where
Yeah.
you get that good.
That's the Boys Unchained. You know
It
what I mean?
really is, yeah.
Django Unchained.
Unchained.
Django.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That
real?
actually is our theme song for the page. Just Patreon only.
Yeah, because you don't have to pay anybody on Patreon. That's at least that's the mode that we operate under.
If David Lee Roth don't know you're doing it, then it's
Yeah.
it's better off if he just doesn't know anything.
Yeah, if David Lee
Just keep
Roth
it
can
from-
scrape $5 together, then maybe we got a lawsuit. But
Right.
Until then,
Till
Yeah.
then, he's better off not knowing. Why we've gathered here today is another album review in the season of the Chad. We just reviewed Deaf Heaven. We just reviewed Pigs. We just reviewed Joe, and we're keeping the train rolling with Black Country New Road. They just put out a new record called Forever Howlong. We've been anticipating this one for a while. I feel like Evan specifically has been on the train for this one because of how great Ants from Up There, how great You Said It was.
yeah. Whether it was or not might be a bone of contention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it was
You
good.
said it was sick. I
So,
couldn't validate
yeah.
that. Never listened
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, I love that album. I was pretty on the fence about Black Country New Road when the first album came out. There were just other bands around that time I found more interesting. Like I think that came out right around the time of the first Black Midi record,
Yeah.
and I just remember liking the Black Midi record more.
Tough to compete with that.
It is, and I don't know if Isaac had quite found his voice. Like sometimes his spoken word stuff on those tracks worked really well. Sometimes it felt a little too clever.
Yeah.
And then I felt like on Ants from Up There, he really kind of found his voice as a vocalist, both in the fact that he sang more on that record and just from a lyrical content, the way that he moved with the music on those, it created some insanely unique and cool moments of those songs. Like listening to Basketball Shoes for the first time, which is the closer, I just remember being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like a 13-minute long song, and the back half is just incredible. And obviously the shame is that he left the band before they even released that album. So, they've never been able to really play those live, or they've chosen not to.
Yeah.
And
That's a wild story. We've talked about it before on a Tracks episode when you brought on one of their songs. That's crazy.
It is, and it gives me a lot of respect for the band overall, because to make what, it's only been out for 3 years, but I could see in time that being a classic record that for a lot of people hold up. And you never really got to tour on it. You never really got to play that live. Your whole entire rollout of that record was muted by the fact that, this instrumental person in bringing those songs to life is gone now. And you decided to not try to fill his shoes with somebody that is going to sing exactly like him. You decide to keep the band together because you like the people that you work with. And, obviously he was a huge part of that record, but so was everybody else who played on it. And to almost immediately try to take a step forward in this new direction where you're saying, okay, that era of the band is done, but we are going to continue to make music the way that we want to. I have a huge amount of respect for what they have been able to do under those circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like we've been very critical on this podcast about bands replacing members or whatever, like either because they like die or like there's whatever,
Or, like getting a new name or something
yeah,
like that.
like what comes to mind obviously is like I've been so outspoken about the Foo Fighters moving on from Taylor Hawkins really fast, but like I think that like what Black Country New Road did, regardless of how I feel about this new album, is so like classy towards the guy that left, because like it is kind of a weird thing for if you put yourself, what's the guy's name?
Isaac Wood.
If you put yourself in Isaac Wood's shoes and they hire a guy that sounds just like him and he sings the songs that he writes, that's really weird.
Especially the songs that he wrote.
Yes.
I mean, Hagaring Black Country New Road would be one of the craziest moves ever. Like, you're a big band, but you're not Van Halen big, where it's like we need to replace the new singer. Like they were at a point where it's like we can kind of still do whatever we want. We're only 2 records in.
But I also wouldn't put it past anybody, because when you get that little taste of the good life, you want to keep it going. But they like just decided instead to completely pivot.
Yeah, and Hagaring that stuff would be so insane, because it's
would be
not like
nuts.
Running with the Devil. It's like these like 10-minute long songs. That sounds like he's having like a panic attack.
And they're
That would be more
personal.
like Peter Chrising the song Beth.
Yes,
With the
that
guy,
would be a
'cause
little
that
more-
song's about his mom.
That is
And
just
Kiss has
get
done it
another
like
guy to do it.
14 times.
Right.
that is one of the all-time weirdest
It is one of the weirdest
things.
But yeah, I mean, I also have a tremendous amount of respect for this band, and just like it adds a certain something to them, not even musically, but just in like a lore type of thing.
Yeah.
And I know we are also critical of lore on the show, especially when it's like
We're critical of everything.
we're critical of lore when it's made up fantasy, mystical castles lore.
Yeah.
This is like something that actually happened with like a person, and they had to figure out their shit, and it gave more meaning to the music that they're creating without him.
Yeah.
Because they were like, everyone could kind of see what was going on. It's like, they had a lot of decisions to make, and they kind of went the best and classiest route, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing we've talked about them, which is way less important, is how the OCs like beefed with them, like shitting on their drummer or something like that, which
Let's
was
not
still
forget
hilarious.
about the OC's feud.
That's
The great
important.
OC's feud of 2021 or whatever the fuck that was.
Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, more importantly.
But I wanted to say, just like my history with listening to the band, like I know Evan, you're a huge fan. I was never that big of a Black Country fan. I mean, when they came out, I remember them also kind of debuting around the same time as Black Midi. I remember hearing Sunglasses for the first time and like immediately thinking like, who do these guys think they are? Like this is fucking crazy.
The
like,
second best Slint
yeah,
tribute
I was
act.
like, this is their first song? Like, this is nuts. And then, kind of, it felt like they were still trying to find their footing on for the first time. And Ants from Up There, I didn't, take to as much as you did, but there was still some, like, after listening to that record, there was excellence. Like, Goodwill Hunting is, like,
such a good song.
such a fucking sick song. So, yeah, and
the guy's name is Isaac Wood. Goodwill Hunting Gordon Wood.
Gordon
Whoa.
Wood.
It all comes to
Regurgitating your Gordon Wood.
It'd be Gordon Wood.
You got that from Vickers. I'm not even going to go.
Yeah.
I could do the
Yard.
whole scene right now.
Yeah.
Essex County, page 68. Yeah, I read that too.
I remember that class. It's between recess and lunch.
Oh, dude.
Okay, we won't.
I expected a better Boston accent out of you.
Well, he's playing like the nerdy guy.
That was
okay, all right.
like Matt Dillon's brother or
Got
something.
it.
I think
Okay.
that's who plays him.
All right. I give you a pass then.
Yeah, give me a pass,
Give me a
please.
pass.
I've done countless expert impressions.
He's
you're
our
right.
man of 1,000 faces.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
My one-man show is coming out. I'll do Jeff Bridges, Donald Trump,
Gordon
and
Wood.
Gordon
All
Wood.
all of those guys saying one word.
One word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you say, fellas? Do you
Let's
want to
dive
get into
in.
it? Have we
Yeah.
said enough about the band?
I think so. I think I derailed whatever you were trying to say with the Gordon Wood
That's
thing.
all right.
But
I think
let's
I was
just
done.
get-
Yeah. We're gonna get into it. Forever How Long by Black Country New Road It's I Quit My Band. This is the
Going
first track.
to the
Besties.
medallion, going to the medallion ball here.
Yep.
With a little bit of harpsichord. Doing a
There we go.
spin in our hoop skirts
Hell
or
yeah,
whatever.
dude.
We covered this one on the show a couple weeks ago for a tracks episode when it was initially released. My feelings have not really changed on it. I mean, it's like, they released Live at Bush Hall without, we kind of forgot to say that.
Yeah.
They released Live at Bush Hall without Isaac. That was their first release without him. And that did have like a noticeably like more upbeat instead of like somber vibe to it. And I think this one, kind of just carries that torch where it's like, we're not this depressive Slint cover band anymore. We're something entirely different.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we mentioned the Up song is the one
Yeah.
where they do the like chant part.
BCNR, Best Friends Forever or something.
Yeah, so this does have that much more like whimsical, happy tone. And I remember like listening to Bush Hall. The song that I go back to the most is Turbine Pigs on that, and that does retain a bit more of like the anxiety and the
Yeah.
depression. But this, as a first taste of the record, ended up being a fairly like accurate representation of what we were going to get.
Yeah.
It's going to be brighter. It's going to be more, twee, if you will. But it has like this big Baroque pop feel, very orchestrated, at times like musical theater.
Yes.
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah. And as we go on, we'll see how I feel about that. I think it works pretty well in this because I think that there's a more there's an easier tune to latch on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I can just kind of go with the movements of it. All of the vocals are catchy.
It's concise.
It's concise, and the ideas have a very logical, normal sort of pop progression to them, even though they are a bit more like technical, and there's more of them than you would typically hear in a pop song.
Yeah.
It still operates like a pop song.
I'd say those things you listed, those aspects, are fewer and far between on this album than what I would prefer.
Yeah.
Not to show my hand too much.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like theater kid, like big Baroque. Like it does sound like at times like you're in like, Bourbon Street in New Orleans and like a parade just comes down the street.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa! Like
There are literally soliloquies
Yes.
in this album of just her singing. Are there two singers, didn't you say?
There's
I think there's
three.
Yeah.
And I think this one is the girl from Jockstrap,
Okay.
Georgia Ellery.
There are moments where these singers are just by themselves.
Yeah. I mean, there's like really, I mean, their voices are all very similar and all very like lovely,
Yes.
and pretty.
Yes.
Almost like opera sounding, like classically trained singer type of shit.
Yeah, the level of vocal control that they have is like insane.
Yeah,
because
it's
like
crazy.
if you went to a musical theater class, some of this stuff would sound that way because like they'll play like a chord on the piano and like be right and pitch with it.
They're fucking pros.
There's
you
no
can
pitch
tell.
correction here.
No,
They
not
just
at
know
all.
how to do it.
But I will say, well, let's move forward.
Let's
go
go
on
on.
with
Yeah. This is the big spin. Same type of deal.
it. Yeah,
You
the
got your
marching band, yeah.
your mead in a chalice.
Mead. Wow.
Mead.
In a chalice.
Yeah.
Out of the singers, this one, she is my favorite. I think her name is May Kershaw.
Yeah.
She's the one that sang Turbines Pigs.
Okay.
And she just has a more like, I don't know, there's a quality to her voice that feels a little more vulnerable and shaky than I think some of the other ones. I mean, it's still like incredible. She can do whatever she wants, but I don't know. There's just something to the emotionality that she brings in this song and another song that she sings for the Cold Country,
Yeah.
that I responded to the vocal the most.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I don't know if it was because of the vocal. I mean, honestly, the vocals, I didn't even like realize until like looking up the record halfway through that there was 3 different singers. Like
Same.
they felt so like just like in sync with each other.
Yeah.
And the way that they like approach melody and just like the timbre and the way that they sing, like it was all just like wow. Like I didn't realize until the one track, I can't remember which one it was, where they kind of do like a trio, like, you know.
Yeah, I forget what song that is.
Yeah,
Mary.
I also
Mary,
remember
yeah.
just because you said, like, when we talked about it on the tracks episode, you're like, yeah, there's a bunch of, like, they replaced the one guy with 3 chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is kind of crazy that you had 3 singers in your band that are this good
yeah.
and you were letting, like, maybe the one guy that can't sing be your lead singer.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
It is, but I think that is kind of what I responded to, especially on Antrim Up There, of like this very accomplished music. You know, he added like a transgressive element to the band in that you have like these very what sound like classically trained musicians that can stop on a dime and are super tight and can orchestrate. But then you have this guy that's like sounds like his life is falling apart as your front man.
The janitor.
Yeah, and so far, like this song and the song before it, there's like nothing out of place now. Like their voices fit so well with the music that I think to a lot of listeners, this stuff could just work better because it's like, oh, pretty voice, pretty music, it all works. But I am kind of missing that like anachronistic part of the music.
Damn.
Yeah.
What a word.
Yeah.
Look
I
at
think
me.
it's
smart as hell.
Yeah. Anachronistic.
And
yeah.
I don't know what
You
that
expect
means.
that from this show, did you? But yeah, I mean, I think there's no secret if you've watched this show before that you would know that we are fans of people that really aren't talented. You know,
Some of us are.
That is true.
Some of us
you are.
I like whalers.
You
do.
like whale, but I'm talking about like, you know, like this is like raw fucking like you're born with it type of shit, or you're born with it and you went
Worked
to
your
school
ass
for
off.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're fans of guys that are just like, I figured out how to, you know, this pedal and then this riff worked really well together, and I, you know, was able to sing over top of it, and we're like, that's fucking amazing.
I figured out my voice works over these 3 chords, and I
That's
wrote
it.
12 songs over them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we love guys like that, but, you know, it was cool what they were doing before with Isaac, who was kind of, you know, like how you described, kind of had that same approach. Like, he was a great, like, lyricist, and had a personality as, like, the depressive frontman who's leading this band of, like, now we're kind of figuring out that they're this, like, cheery bunch of, like, amazing musicians, and that, like, dichotomy, I guess, was a part of the charm that we're kind of losing, but we're gaining something else that's also charming.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, like I re-listened to Chaos Space Marine today, and I was like, damn, it's always kind of been there.
Yeah.
Because if you take out Isaac's vocal,
Yeah.
it does sound like musical theater,
Right.
but like I'm just so used to having him there
Yeah.
that you're like, oh, all right, so this was what was going on in the background the whole time.
for sure. Do you want to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Socks. I like this one quite a bit. This one was like one of the more grandiose ones on the record, I think. I mean, they all feel very grandiose, but there's certain like explosions that happen and builds that happen on certain songs. And this one, I feel like one of the ones that takes the longest to get there, and it's one of the biggest payoffs.
Takes
at
a
the
long
end.
time
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah, the movement that happens at like 2:45 is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I do have a hard time sitting through this like very specific set of sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
It does feel a lot like I'm watching a theater production, like the way everything rises and falls, and the way that the vocal works. It's like so mannered, like it's so precise, and sometimes that can leave me feeling a bit cold. Like I have a hard time. Like I think I relate to the guys that can't sing because I can't sing.
Exactly. That's why we like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a schlub. That's easier. So like sometimes it's hard for me to just like I admire this,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like connected to it as much.
Yeah, it's just takes so long to get there, and this is like snooze 30 to me. You know, like I
Check my clock.
Check my watch.
Snooze 30,
It's
bro.
time to take a nap.
this does not do it for me. No matter how sick the payoff is, if like skip, you know. That's how it is for me.
There's definitely songs on here where that skip snooze 30. No, there's
Sorry.
there's
That's
definitely
funny.
songs on here where like the vegetable to dessert ratio works a little better for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's an interesting way of
yeah.
putting it.
Because this feels like vegetables
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, I'm eating a lot of vegetables.
But like they do bring in some of the anxiety rock that I'm used to at that midsection, and that is interesting that you can carry a section that sounds like this, like Stephen Sondheim, I don't even know, and then bring that part in. But we've been talking about that part for quite some time,
And
and
it's
It
still
still
not.
hasn't
it's still not
happened.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like what I was saying before, like a lot of the album feels like walking into a parade, in New Orleans, and that feeling is kind of there too, where you kind of just like, you walk into a bunch of horns and tubas and shit playing, you always like kind of can't make out what is going on, and you have to like take a second, and that always feels like where you are in the song, finding the tune. You're like, I can kind of hear it, and then it starts gradually appearing towards the end, and it's like, it's not always as fun as a New Orleans parade. It's sometimes
Way less
They're not-
boobs.
like
they're-
watching a play.
They're not serving hand
They're not.
grenades.
No. Yeah. There's no Steins.
There's
with
no
beer,
beads.
Yeah.
Yeah, the like this part I do like quite a bit, and it reminds me of things that I liked on their past records. It's like a little more anxious. It's a little more frenetic, and another thing too that they seem to be pulling a lot more from like prog.
Yeah.
Not your typical like Dream Theater or something, but like 70s prog and stuff like that. And one of my issues with prog is like they'll play a sick part, but not as long as I wanted.
They won't go
They
back
played
to
the
it.
other part that
Yeah.
I didn't like as much way longer, and then you get these like little nuggets of something
Yeah.
really good.
I think the biggest takeaway with this song, the biggest thing to latch onto is the vocal melody. Just the like that's something.
Can you even
that
latch
appears.
onto that though?
It doesn't stay for long,
No.
for sure. But like, it is a catchy
Yeah.
little jingle that happens, but it doesn't, like you said, doesn't stay for as long as you'd want it to.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next song, Salem Sisters. I like this one quite a bit. Probably my favorite on the record so far.
Yeah, there's like a backup vocal that I really like, where like it's like a call and response type thing that is really cool. Yeah, at this point in the record, I was like, yeah, like this still has that whimsical musical theater, but this one just kind of works a little better for me.
Yeah,
Like
I
this-
feel like I'm watching Mary Poppins. or
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because there's parts in this album that like you can picture the hat and the cane,
Yeah.
and like the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But like this part, like, and it keeps cutting out to that like indie rock thing for just a second.
Yeah, there's like that, what is that song? Like the fucking,
I like this a lot.
yeah. There's like that American football riff that happens. like,
Yeah,
almost.
never meant.
Never meant.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
It just plays in the background for a second. But I just think that build is really pretty. Like, it feels like we have more structure, to get to what the tune of this song is. And then it actually, like, I think in this one goes into like an actual beat, like an actual drum beat.
Yeah.
Listen
You
to
know.
what you're saying.
Like it goes into something
beat.
a beat.
No, there are a couple songs that you do eventually get like a
Like
beat and not instead of accompaniment.
Instead
and
of-
sometimes
yeah.
it feels like you just mainlined a drug. You're like,
Yeah,
whoa.
you found water in the
Yeah.
desert. Holy shit, a
could
drum
breathe
beat,
for
not
a second.
sparse cymbal tapping
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, some of the accompaniment is
Yeah.
so sparse, like just the piano, just the voice, and it'll sit on that for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So long.
And this song is like leaning more into the Baroque elements. like you said.
Yeah.
Like
It's just funny listening to this. Like you just like hear
Like we
what's going
just
on in the
listened to
background.
Deaf Heaven.
Yeah, it's like, is this for us? You know, you get that feeling.
I do get from
yeah,
this song,
I think I got an answer for you.
I do get from this song in particular vibes of St. Vincent's first album.
Yeah.
Not Actor, because Actor she starts getting a little more abrasive and electronic, but Marry Me
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those kind of songs. Maybe it's just the voice, though. I don't know.
No, I can hear that.
Here we go.
Yeah, like this part's really satisfying.
Yeah, there's the beat.
Has
There's that
like
beat I
Hits
was
like
talking about.
hits like crack, baby.
There's that beat I was talking about.
the when it gets more into that like Baroque pop, because sometimes it's Baroque but there's no like pop to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like these disparate elements at times, but this one I feel like is one of the stronger, more like tunes.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was just kind of a relief to be on the track list and see one that was like 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
There's a
Like,
couple
oh, nice.
sixers.
Yeah,
We get a
yeah.
six
Couple.
pack
We
coming
get
up.
a couple
Got a
six-pack.
six-pack of indie.
And we're here. We got the 6-pack here. 2 horses. I think this is the most prog, like you were saying, on the whole record. Very interesting track. Again, takes a long time to get to the very like anxious, like scatterbrain filled guitar and like pretty neat lyrical like story that happens towards the end about like, you know, meeting a guy in a bar and then finding out that he's a leech is what they call him in the song,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's a fun listen along because it's actually like telling, you know, a narrative story. And the instrumentation gets kind of nuts towards the back half too, but I mean, it does just,
I think that's at like the 4-minute
it
mark.
meanders for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that musical section at the 4-minute mark a lot. And that reminds me of like what helped me get into Black Country New Road to begin with. Those crescendos, that's something that they were so good at, is bringing everything to a boil and being able to
Yeah.
hold there. This opening is really sparse. There's stuff on here that reminds me of Joanna Newsom a bit in just the musical kind of approach. Joanna Newsom's voice, I think, is more idiosyncratic. Have you ever listened to Joanna Newsom?
I never really have. I know she plays the harp.
She plays the harp,
Yeah.
but her voice is crazy. She has like a crazy hillbilly voice.
Oh, really?
Like
I
if
like that.
if you just closed your eyes and listened to Joanna Newsom, had no idea what like she looked like, you would think this person is barefoot in overalls.
I love that.
Like,
But playing a harp.
but playing harp. Yeah.
yeah. That's
and
wild.
there's stuff that has that sort of like quality to it, but this is even more like Canterbury,
Yes.
you know, like Ren Fair.
I mean, I'm imagining like a woman in a large dress, like caressing like fruit from a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Very like classic Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like married to a snail or something like that. You know,
Yeah,
like
but
that's
she,
her-
Who's-
she needs to find
Yeah.
the witch to turn
Yeah.
her
The-
snail
her
husband
boyfriend
to
is
a
a
hot
snail.
guy.
Yeah.
The snail was cursed.
The snail and the
The
princess.
snail- soundtrack.
The
by
classic.
Black Country New Road.
The classic story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a very divisive record amongst the fan base.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are definitely songs on here that I like. This was one that I had one of the harder times with. Because, again, like, there are still sections that I enjoy,
Yeah.
but it just takes so long to get there. And
Let me
that
fast
Night and
forward a
Day
bit.
reminds me of McCartney so much.
Mhm.
Yes.
Night and Day. Yeah. I mean,
I
this
want to
is...
get to this kind of crazy part that happens. Because it starts really, like, boiling your blood a little bit.
And I will say that, like, the one thing that you can't say or knock this record for is musicianship, because it's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's so impressive.
Like, the timing of these songs, the chord changes, the instrumentation, the level of control every single player has
Yeah.
is fucking unbelievable. Oh, yeah, that's so good.
to come up with these arrangements and these songs in the short amount of time that they did, because I also read that they like quickly wrote songs for Live at Bush Hall so they could have a catalog of music to play that was not from the first time or Ants from Up There, because they didn't want to play anything that Isaac wrote lyrics for.
That's insane.
So they like wrote all these songs. So I thought when Forever How Long was coming out, we'd get like recorded versions of Live at Bush Hall songs. But this is a totally new slew of songs, and they're all like jam packed in like deep and fucking, there's just so much. I can't even think of the word right now, but just
variety.
Variety is a good,
And orchestration, just
Yeah.
like there's just shit everywhere. I don't even know how you remember these songs.
Yeah,
Right. I don't either.
I don't know how you would. Either.
And also the amount of like different instruments on all of these, like there's mandolin and like various horns. I mean, are there like, how many people were in the band? Like an Arcade Fire amount of people?
There's 6, I
I
think.
think there's only
Oh,
6.
wow.
Yeah,
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, keys, bass, guitar, drum, and
Yeah.
then I think like
Clarinet.
pinch hitters, like
yeah.
sax,
They're artillery
flute.
men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on. That's 2 horses. This is Mary. This was one of my favorites just because of like the kind of, breath that it gives you. It's very pretty because it's basically just acoustic guitar and then the 3 voices. And it's the first time on the record where you kind of get something that is a little bit more somber and depressing
And organic.
and organic. And they still do depressing well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the mode that it's the mode of music I prefer,
Yeah.
More than anything. Like,
It's the mode of me.
it's what speaks to me more.
Yeah.
I'm hearing like friends being chipper and having a great time. I'm like,
Fuck that.
Cut that out.
yeah, show me where he inserted the blade. Remember when you guys did that? I like that. Yeah, and hearing all 3 of their voices together is cool. Like, having the ability to do something like this where you have like 3 insanely good singers who all kind of, like you said, sound somewhat similar, that they can all sit together in this like, big collection.
Yeah, I wonder how they recorded this. Like,
Yeah, the whole thing, I was wondering that, because they worked with James Ford, who has been on a lot of records we've listened to recently. He's like I know he did Geese, and I'm pretty sure he did Fontaine's DC as well. He's the new hit maker.
he's the new Jack Antonoff.
But it's interesting to hear him do something like this, because there's a lot of very strong production choices, especially on the Fontaine's DC record.
Yeah.
And I guess there are strong choices here in instrumentation, but it never feels like the production is like stepping up to take the spotlight. Like there's no like big effect moment or anything like that. It just sounds like a pretty accurate representation of really good musicians playing a variety of different instruments.
Yeah, I don't think there's one like synthesizer on this record.
No, it's all like acoustic, analog instruments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's no like, they don't add like a weird effect to the violin. They don't add a slap back to the drum set or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's very like,
It's just there. It's
Organic.
taking a picture of how they would do this live or something like that.
which is impressive that they're able to make something that sounds so lush
Yeah.
without like any sort of like studio trickery. You just happen to have like 6 wonderkin
Yeah.
musicians
Yeah.
that all play multiple shit.
What if it was just like they just didn't know that you could do any of that? It was like, we have a synthesizer to make that noise.
They're like,
right?
what
And
the fuck is
What
that?"
is that?
Like they're Amish or something.
Yeah.
You ever hear a distortion
They're
pedal?
just like, whoa! What is that?
You play them like Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
And like you can do that.
Their next album just sounds like the Ramones.
Yeah.
Let's move on. That's Mary.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep.
This is Happy Birthday, which I like this one a lot. This is probably my actual favorite on the entire record. I think this one has like the best melody, and it has the most interesting chord progression to me. Like I feel like I can, like right here,
And that little
Ooh.
yeah.
Like you think that is going to be a minor chord, and then they somehow are able to make it major.
There's another major.
Yeah, there's another major.
No, I agree. I think this has like a little more of like a Beatlesy, like uplifting happiness to it. Still sounds like it could be a song from like Annie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
But it's a little more straightforward. It's a little more of a tune, and this is nice.
Great build here. There's there's like some electric guitars on this track.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like a Queens of the Stone Age riff.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I like that little
What, the turnaround?
the little
Yeah.
do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
And then it goes into this.
There's
Like this
a
feels
drum beat,
Got
Ringo.
a
dude.
beat.
And this
Dude,
sounds
got
like
a drum beat.
And this sounds like a very like Beatles kind of thing,
Yeah.
landing on this like very simple Ringo-y type of beat.
Yeah.
But again, one of my critiques is like I could have done another 4 bars of that. You know, just
Yeah.
that
It's
beat.
already over.
It's like
It's already done.
It's already over.
Moving
dude.
on.
Fucking done.
If you like it, listen
Did
to
you
the
like-
album again,
Did
dumbass.
you like that beat? Yeah. Too bad.
Like that beat's not gonna last.
Too bad. Drummer
Ain't
doesn't
gonna
like
last.
playing
But it's
beats.
much like life. It don't
It is.
last.
It's
It
short.
Don't last. It's short, and it ain't fun the whole time.
It's short, unsatisfying, frustrating at times.
Frustrating.
It's a little bit like musical theater at
Yeah.
times.
yeah.
Sometimes
Sometimes a
you
little
gotta sit
baroque
through
at
some
times.
stuff that you don't want to sit through.
Sometimes, you're gonna feel like you're in a castle sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes life is like a very accomplished high school production of Anything Goes. 3 hours. Hope you brought a lunch.
No intermission in this life.
Oh man, it's so true.
And
Let's-
there is like a big propulsive moment at like 3 minutes too, that I did like as well.
We're almost there. Move forward a bit.
Yeah, I think what
I'm just fast forwarding, and it's just for like a full minute.
Yeah, I think the theme that we're running into so far is when they keep them to around 3 or 4 minutes, this stuff I think like hits
Really
a little
hits.
better.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to follow them. It's you get those moments, those satisfying moments sooner. You don't have to wait as long for them.
For a pea brain like myself,
Yeah,
when
like
they
this.
go a little longer, yeah.
Yeah, we get a little bit of
Don't
head bobbing.
don't enjoy it that much though.
It ain't gonna last for
It
too
ain't gonna
long.
last.
I think this one lasts for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's another beat though.
It is another beat. We got a nice like heavy. It's really the only like song that has any bit of heaviness
Or electric guitars
thumpiness
anywhere.
on it. Yeah.
There's a song that has like a really cool beat where he's like chopping it up like crazy that we'll get to. But that's another one that's like there's some veggies.
You gotta earn it.
Little veggie
Yeah.
max.
Yeah.
Let's move on. This is For the Cold Country.
New road.
Cold Country, New Road.
This is one of my favorite songs. Out of the long ones,
Yeah, I think this was.
and this is the singer that I had mentioned before. I find her like the emotionality of her voice is just slightly different than the others. I don't know. Hers doesn't feel as controlled in my mind. Maybe it's just because I keep thinking of Turbine's Pigs, and
Yeah,
I'm like, I
maybe.
like that song
Yeah.
a lot.
For me, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I sort of know what you mean.
You know, these moments where the singers are by themselves or accompanied sparsely remind me of church in a way that I can't really explain. Where, like, the music in church was tight, like, there were really good singers in that choir. They weren't volunteers. My church, when I was a kid, the church that I went to, that I no longer attend,
Had Sammy Hagar.
had
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar, had Bon Scott, R.I.P.
They replaced David Lee Roth with Sammy Hagar.
Deacon David Lee Roth has left the church.
The
Was
chur-
brought on.
The church I used to go to with my parents had like hired singers, and they would have them go up there with like a book and a piano and like, like whatever.
They all have that like spit in the back.
Yeah.
That's where the Holy Spirit lies. I don't know if you know that.
Crucified.
Yeah.
But like, anyways, the females on this album really remind me of those moments of me just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for it to be over in church. Like, okay, let's go until we all have to get up and sing, and then that becomes even more shitty
because you're like,
no, yeah, I hate it all.
It's always the funniest when you're in church and it's everyone's turn to sing, and there's like a woman in front of you who's like,
Oh, I know. And they expect you to just know the words and the tune to the song.
Yeah.
Like, how?
That's why I don't go to church anymore.
Yeah, fuck
that's
that.
it.
Too good at singing.
This I think I like the vocal in this song a bit more than the others though, because there's like some weird like phrasing stuff like that. Do 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 do.
Yeah. Yeah, this is another one where they find a nice, pretty melody for you to like hold on to, kind of like one with Socks. But this one feels more sparse and a little bit more
Like I like this.
depressing, I guess.
Yeah, like this gives me like a taste of the old
Yeah, like that.
DCNR.
Boom.
That boom boom
Yeah.
with like the kind of weird staccato vocal over top of it. Like I get like, Isaac flashbacks a little bit.
The next one also makes me think of that too. So like it kind of is back to back. Like you kind of are reminded of what they used to do a little bit before. I don't know if you've thought that about the next song.
The one musical section towards the back half for sure.
Yeah.
On Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like I like this a lot, and they hang on this a bit more. I mean, they go out of it in a very like, some sort of animal playing a lute sort of way, some sort of tree imp or something. Like I like right back to the Enchanted Forest here.
Yeah. It feels like we get into a completely different song here, which is like we're like all kind of a little bit over halfway through, and then it just changes to that like really pretty song with a beat and you know, where you can bob your head a little bit too, but it does not last for long again.
Yeah. I think like there's stuff that I do really enjoy in some of these songs. It's just the length at which I have to sit through the parts that I just find less compelling. Like I find them impressive, like very impressive.
It's impressive, but the moments, at least for me, I don't crave them enough to stomach all of the soliloquy in order to get there. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
There's a lot.
But even like I find those soliloquies or whatever you want to call it, like the very sparse accompaniment, it's impressive. Like you have to be very good to be able to do that.
Yes.
It just doesn't like grip me emotionally in the way that I, tend to like in my rock and roll.
My rock.
Yeah, and I can't say that I like dug into any of the lyrics or themes. I don't know if either of you guys did, but like I could see someone that's more of a lyrics head getting into this for that.
Yeah, there's some interesting songs. They're like the way different approach than what Isaac would sing about. Like there's like a song literally about a knight. I think this is the song about the knight.
Sick.
Yeah, about him like taking off his armor.
He has chainmail.
And this is cool.
His codpiece.
Like that's sick. That's very sick, and that reminds me of
This
BCNR
part,
that I know.
Yeah, it gets real fucking proggy here.
That's almost like Black Country.
Yeah.
BCNR, Bobcat, no Ron.
No Ron.
Yeah, dude.
Bobcat, no Ron. It's funny. But yeah, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Sorry.
Honestly.
It's my fault.
Let's move on to the next song. This is Nancy Tries to Take the Night.
Sick.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I did try to dive into the lyrics a bit.
I think this one's about Oliver Twist.
That's so on the nose.
Yeah, it really is. I knew we would get an Artful Dodger cameo appearance at some
It's
point.
about Oliver Twist, and it sounds like it was written by Oliver
In
Twist.
1812.
Yeah. I want more gruel, please.
More gruel, please. Yeah, I like this one a lot because just, kind of my dumb, rock guy brain, this one has a very interesting, angular, weirdo guitar riff that is accompanied by a drum beat that they don't quite match, but the whole thing really works. And it did remind me more of Old Black Country New Road than anything on the record.
Big time. Out of like the musical moments,
Yeah.
this is my favorite on the record.
Yeah.
Because that beat is awesome. The guitar line is awesome.
Yeah.
And like you said, they don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But you hear it all together and you're like, God damn, that's so sick.
It's an impressive moment that's not just about talent. It's kind of that, like what we were talking about before with Isaac being like that kind of outlier of the band. Like this one is, it takes a musical talent to do this, but it also takes like a mind to be like, what if we just tried, this fucking weirdo guitar riff and backed by this like really simple drum beat, and then it just works. Like there's not enough moments like that on across the whole record where it's just pretty the whole time. Like this is a little bit of ugliness.
I agree. I think that what I'm not responding to in a lot of these songs is like all the corners of the bed are tucked in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's pretty, but like the thing that I found interesting about this band was like how accomplished they were while being able to present something so weird and fucked up as well.
Yeah.
So when they do find a way to retain that, either with like the anxiety or these like really big pounding sections, crazy horns, these weird stops and starts, when we get these sections of like 3 minutes of just like really pretty stuff, I don't know, it just feels like it's missing that element of like something transgressive.
Yeah. It's always, I mean, it's just as interesting to hear something like that as it is to hear something that's like really well put together, and maybe it's something that we don't get enough of in rock music today, of like, these really pretty impressive moments that are full of instrumentation from the fucking 1920s, like, or 19.
Yeah, maybe we just don't appreciate Baroque music enough.
We
we
might
don't
not,
get it.
I mean, that might be the thing. Like, we might not be for us, because like we hear something like this and I'm like, oh, something's happened. There's a riff that I can lock into.
Because this drum beat coming up is
Yeah.
so fucking sick. Give it to me.
Takes
Like
a while
20
for that
more
beat to
minutes.
come in. Yeah. This is the first, like, when I remember listening to this and hearing this, and I was just like, oh wow, like this is, where was this the entire time? Like, this is the first time we've gotten anything remotely this weird.
It's like
is
that
not in
melody
4/4.
line is so weird.
Yeah.
That the horns are playing, and then to lock into something that sounds like it's like playing around it. And then what I like too is like he drops it down to like just 16s on the hi-hat, and then he comes in with a straight beat, and it like works its own different way.
When the straight beat comes in, that's when that's when they got me.
They got your ass.
They got
dude.
my ass. It's so weird.
Yeah, like I don't. That snare
It's
pattern's
not
so
4/4.
strange.
It's definitely. I think it's some odd time signature.
JJ's like putting like the rope, the yarn again. It's not in 4/4.
Yeah, it's not 3/4 either. Fuck, I'm out.
Yeah, if it's not a waltz and it ain't a rocker,
Yeah, I'm
You're on
out.
your own.
It's
See
not
ya.
in 4/4.
Nope, 6/8 maybe sometimes.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. This is
yeah,
maybe my second favorite off the record.
yeah. I don't know if it's like my favorite whole thing, but it has by far my favorite moment on the record. I think.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. This is the title track, Forever Howlong. Interestingly enough, this is my least favorite off of the whole record.
I think easily
Easily.
for me.
Yeah.
There's really nothing for me to grab on here.
Snooze 45.
This is
Snooze 45. And this is the singer that I said I find the most compelling.
Yeah.
But like at one point she stops and there's like feels like a 4-second
long.
break where
Yeah.
you're like,
What?
is it over?
Did my
Did something
internet
break?
connection get
Yeah.
fucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It,
like
it feels like they took all of the parts that we've been complaining about for the past hour and just made a song
Pushed
out of
them,
them. They're just
yeah.
like, there's every time you think you're going to get a melody or something to latch onto or a verse that feels like accessible, we're just gonna keep rolling on this fairy tale, dust type of train.
I can hear this at like a live show, like
Here it is, yeah.
or clink, and someone rolls a beer can.
I'm gonna get a beer.
When I was listening to it, I thought of that.
I'm gonna go take a piss.
I thought of that scene in Lebowski where they go to see his landlord do like the dance routine. Yeah, like I could hear this playing as a guy's like,
Hey, dude, I'm gonna go take a piss.
"You're out of your fucking element."
The song sucks. I'm gonna go take a piss.
You just hear like it's like one of those things where it's really quiet, and you just hear someone just be like, "Where are you?" Sorry. Lift up your phone.
Yeah. I never want to play music like that where like people can whisper over my shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. You know?
Take a piss.
Yeah, I mean, depending. There's bands that I listen to that bring it down to this level, but it's usually in an effort to bring it up even higher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like listening to like Godspeed You Emperor. Like,
Yeah,
they get super sparse at times and stuff like that. But all of that post rock shit is basically about that. How
It's about wide.
yeah, how small can we get it and how big can we get it? It's like
Quiet
dynamics.
to loud, yeah. Let's move on to the last track. Goodbye, Don't Tell Me.
I like this song a lot.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, another good melody and like the most like identifiable like guitar
Yes.
in the entire record. Like there's actual like guitar chords being played, not just piano to lead into the song, not just
Electric guitar.
electric guitar, not just horns. Like it feels more like a rocker, and they save it like for the very end.
Like that, I love
Yeah.
that like little walk up that he's doing.
Mm.
Yeah, it feels like the first arrival of indie rock.
Yeah.
Again, like
Yeah.
we got a lot of like Baroque pop stuff, and then like this feels like the first indie
Yeah.
rock track that we had so far, and like
Just had to have 49 minutes of vegetables.
hell
Yeah.
yeah, dude. We're finally eating that ho ho, dude.
Yeah.
We're getting
Finally
our
got a
dessert.
ho-ho.
Yeah, even the vocals feel a little bit more like confident in trying to, I guess, go along with the instrumentation rather than just like do what they were, like whatever they wanted to do. Like this one actually feels like they're trying to fit the song, and it feels like it actually works.
I agree. It feels less like compositional
Yeah,
and
yeah.
more like a song.
Yes,
Like a lot of the vocals on the other songs, they operate as like another musical instrument.
yes,
Yes.
So they don't hit you like a pop melody does, whereas this one does.
That's something that you don't even really think about when you're listening to music until you hear something where it's like this person's voice, they can bring it up or down on a dime, and they can do whatever they want, and it's impressive. But then you hear something like this, and you're like, oh, sometimes vocals are just supposed to complement the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to just show you how fucking great they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when they're operating in the same mode as like a horn line,
Yeah, yeah.
they're gonna be less interesting because I don't know. Yeah, like I've just been trained
Yeah.
by pop music to.
Yeah.
As James Hetfield says, I'm used to the drummer playing the beat part. I'm used to the
Not
singer.
just a normal beat. It's one of the greatest.
A Lars beat, too.
One of the
Yeah.
and like the beat he goes into is so terrible. Yeah, it's like- maybe more like a more standard beat. I wasn't gonna
Stop.
say it. It sounds fucking stock. This is not a stock album.
No, not at all. Should we go into CAs?
Going to
Yeah.
CAs.
Yeah. Evan, you want to go first?
Take
since
it
this-
away.
Sure.
Yeah.
I really wish I liked this record more. I'm a big fan of what, like, basically everything the band has done to get to this point. I love Ants from Up There. I think it's going to be a classic indie record in the years that follow. And to have to handle that as a band, to write something that good that people respond to that well, and then to have to like move forward without your lead singer. I mean, it's so difficult. And I think that they've done basically like everything right that you can. We've said that stuff.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this is exactly the type of music that they want to make. They have like the control over their instruments in order to be able to do that. But for me, it is missing those transgressive elements that made it interesting to me as a listener.
Yeah.
I think that there's a chance because I could also see Isaac's voice being like a detriment to people liking them. For a lot of people, like they're like, he's yelling, he can't really sing that well. So to some people, this might be like a better entry point to the band because all the elements are like pretty and sound good. But I like, it's just a strange thing to be drawn to a band for like one very specific thing, and it was that interplay between like really good musicianship and this weird like confessional and at times like ironic and sardonic voice, and then to get this new voice that's very earnest, it's very like hard on its sleeve, and pretty. So yeah, the instrumentation incredible, well recorded, all the performances are great, but this stuff just isn't for me. For how accomplished it is, and there are musical moments on it that I do like. I don't think I'm going to return to them that often. I'm going to give it a 5.8.
Okay. Wow.
You should go.
All right. Okay. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, like what you just said, like to like a band for a certain thing and then kind of get that rug pull a little bit with the thing that you liked the most about, with them kind of completely doing away with. Like, not only did he leave the band, but they really didn't stick to their original style whatsoever. And it makes me think about like the label that signed them, just like, well, this is why you were popular to begin with, and you guys are going to carry on. And like this music, for someone like you who's like a huge fan, and there's definitely other people that were also huge fans of what they were doing before, are going to feel the same way of just like, this is not the same band, like whatsoever. They are like definitely, maybe happier, or maybe trying to write happier music, or just have a completely different mood, or maybe just were not about what Isaac was doing the entire time. It was just like, that's who their lead singer was, and that's who was leading the band, and that's who was writing the lyrics. And now they're just kind of free to like make this really cheery, upbeat, like Baroque pop music with all like raw instrumentation and like nothing really modern whatsoever. But it kind of reminds me of like Jordy Griep with the new sound, where it's like that became very popular and people loved that Jordy album, but you listen to it and you're like, this is like from a different era, and I don't even really get it, and that's kind of how I felt about this. Like, it's very impressive. The music is beautiful. The voices are beautiful. Performances are amazing. But this type of stuff has never been for me. Like, I would be listening to this and just like kind of laugh to myself, like how I did while listening to this tonight, of just like, what the fuck am I listening to right now?
Yeah.
It's like I told JJ before, I was like, it's great. Like, it's wonderful music, and there's definitely an audience for it, but I feel like I'm listening to like the soundtrack to Bridgerton or something, or Mary Poppins, and like it's not for me. I don't know if it's for guys like me. I don't know if it's for guys like us. Maybe down the line I'll come back to it, but I feel like I will probably not think about this record in the next couple months. For its like impressiveness and instrumentation and performance, and some of the songs and the melodies that I really like too, I'm gonna give it a 6.0. But that's purely because like it's very lush. Like, I can't knock it for that. But yeah, I'm feeling a hard 6.
Yeah, there's not much that you guys said that I disagree with. I was gonna do this bit where I'm like, I loved it, but
There's no hiding.
No. But yeah, it was hard for me to relate to any of this. And I love talent in music, contrasting to you guys a little bit. That sounds like a dig, but that's not what I mean. But at the same time, I need like repetition, you know, like we did that bit the whole time of like, ooh, a drum beat. Like, yeah, it would have been nice to have more of that. It just like, it felt like I was listening to like music that's being performed in the courtyard of a castle the entire time. Like, it's just like for like not me, you know. I mean, basically all of our arguments are the Oasis guy being like, not for me, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for me, mate.
It's the band's story is awesome, and I think it's really admirable what they did and how they pivoted. Like 98% of bands would not react to a departure that way. They would handle it in a different way, like we talked about at the beginning. So I love that, but I don't have any history with the band either to base it off of. But it's hard to grasp onto. It's like busy, but then not, and too. I don't know. I could keep going on, but I just didn't really like it, and there's not really even a standout song to me. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, even.
Damn, dude, it's a 5.6.
It's a 5.6.
It's a 5.6.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, whatever.
Yeah, hard.
It's a yeah, whatever. That's for sure.
Yeah,
But
it's an impressive
kind?
yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a beautifully
orchestrated.
yeah, whatever.
That's it. A beautifully
yeah.
orchestrated yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a divisive album.
Yeah.
In their discography, because I think there was even enough of the, and maybe it's just the immediacy of them being played live, but I think that there were more people after Live at Busch Hall that were like, oh, we're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Because I do think Turpentine Pigs is one of their best songs.
Yeah.
And
There's another one on that too that is like very like sad and depressing and kind of showed off more like variety. I think it's I Won't Always Love You.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good song too. Yeah, and I think that there were a lot of people who maybe were skeptical that were like, I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be less of that on this album. And maybe that was like kind of the point. Maybe they really wanted to be like, we want this to be a holistic experience. We don't want it to be like jumping around between vibes where we're going to have something like Besties and then something like Turpentine Pigs that's like depressing and has this big rocking crescendo. And they were like, we want this kind of, this whole experience that is like positive and whimsical and musical. And yeah, I could see, I don't think it's a logical reaction for someone like me that was like, I really like the Antrim Up There, to be like, yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah, I think that's
like, I think it's a perfect.
sense.
I'm just not interested in music with whimsy.
Yeah, whimsy is like on way low on my fucking
last
priority.
The last
scale.
mood I ever need in my music is whimsy.
There's
Yeah.
a ton of whimsy on this thing.
As I'm
So
filling
much.
up my dirty coffee mug at work,
Yeah.
there's no whimsy in my
There's-
life. There's just like a lukewarm K cup to get me through
The
whatever
morning.
bullshit I have to do.
And
There's
then-
no whimsy
Yeah.
in my life.
And then 3 more of those
Yeah,
K-cups.
yeah.
And like they don't work. It's just like, it's like a drug addict. It's like I just want to feel something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a feeling that we were going to get a lot of this after hearing the BCNR Best Friends Forever song, and then like seeing like new photos of them, like press photos.
They're
where
doing
they're
like
all
the
like
band. Yeah, they're
Like,
like,
Oh,
they're-
are
like
they
they-
doing that shit?
like with like the white background
Oh.
and like the pointing the guitar at the
Oh.
like they are like they look in better mental
Spirits.
spaces.
They look
Yeah.
like they're having a blast.
They look like the cast of All That. You know what I mean?
Good for them.
yeah, or like they look like the whoever would be on Never Enough, the
Yeah,
show
yeah,
that
the
turns
show,
down just like some sort of Full House.
Yeah.
They all live in a big sitcom house
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, they're in high school and they're all friends.
Yeah,
maybe
Degrassi.
Yeah, it's like Degrassi.
It's
Yeah.
New
They
Road.
look like they're in Degrassi. So I had a feeling I'm like, you take, these are the popular kids. They used to have that nerd in the band.
the angry, sad nerd. He's gone now.
They
The
shoved
bad
him into a
man's
locker.
gone.
And it's
Yeah.
all good times.
They fucking
Yeah.
shoved his ass in a locker.
If it's a nursery rhyme, the fucking ogre has left the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gone.
You paid the bridge troll.
Yeah.
He's out.
He's out. What did you guys think of this record? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was as boring as we thought? Do you like whimsy in your music? Do
Yeah.
you hate whimsy in your music? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe to our Patreon page for bonus content. $5 a month to become a quitter. Look forward to more reviews. There's a ton of albums coming out this spring. Like I said, we covered Death Heaven. We covered Pigs. We covered Joel. We
Yeah.
covered Black Country New Road tonight, and we got some more coming up. I believe Bon Iver,
Bon Iver did.
Viagra Boys.
Viagra Boys.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot that
Car
we're
seat
going to be
headrest
car seat headrest.
coming up.
A lot that we're going to be releasing
Go
and
back,
listening
listen to
to.
The Darkness.
Yeah, we're
Dreams
gonna.
on Toast.
We might listen to Dreams on Toast.
That would be awesome.
That is, do want to talk about that later. That post, that Justin Hawkins quote. Yeah. Go watch Justin Hawkins' podcast. You know, if
It's a better
If you didn't,
show.
if you didn't like this, you'll
You didn't
like
like
that.
But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. It's been I Quit My Band. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.